Now my wife called me after the show and she said, "This is crazy. You're not going to believe this. We're getting literally tens and thousands of emails and messages from people that are saying how much the song impacted them." And I hung up the phone thinking, "Oh my gosh, I wrote a hit song and didn't even know it," And so
Yeah.
from that point on, I knew if I was blessed enough to win the show, that was going to be the first single, and luckily, the good Lord let that happen.
Please take a second to leave us a 5-star review on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you might be listening. If you're on YouTube, subscribe, hit the thumbs up, and leave us a comment. You can find Come and Pick It at comeandpickitpodcast.com. Sign up for our email list, and that's where you'll get the most up-to-date information about all the stuff we've got going on, including new episodes, our live shows, our music releases, and more. All right, on with the show. Well, hey, y'all, welcome to Come and Pick It. I'm Anthony Bonnette, and today's guest is Mr. Buddy Jewell. Buddy, how are you today?
Brother, if I was any better, I'd need a twin or something, whatever they say. I'm doing great.
I don't know what they say. You could need a clone, maybe.
That's what it is, a clone. I need Dolly the sheep.
Oh, we're sure happy.
Yeah.
We're sure happy about having you here today. We've got some real probing questions for you. We're gonna get right to the heart of it.
Okay. Sounds good.
Yeah, we're pretty lighthearted over here. So tell us something about you. We all saw you back in the day on Nashville Star. So tell us, and Miranda Lambert, I will say, is from right down the road here from where in Mineola, right down from we're in East Texas too. So I won't say who we were rooting for, but we watched it pretty close.
Well, so where'd you grow up? Been rooting for. I grew up in Northeast Arkansas. Yeah, well, I mean, you should have been rooting for her. She's your hometown girl. Anyway, I grew up in Northeast Arkansas, a little town called Osceola, and it's on the Mississippi River. Mm-hmm. About an hour north of Memphis on the Arkansas side of the Mississippi.
That puts me in that name sounds like a lyric from a John Anderson song from Heard the Ghost of Osceola Cry.
Yeah, it's Osceola everywhere except in Osceola, Arkansas. It's Osceola there.
It's in Arkansas. Well, that's kind of how it is in Arkansas.
Actually got that name. Yeah, the town was called Plum Point, and then Chief Osceola traveled through there. I don't know. I can't remember the specifics, but he wound up staying there. I don't know if he was in custody or what, but they changed the name to Osceola after he left.
Osceola. Is that a big town?
No, Matt, when I was growing up there, it's about 7,000. I'd be surprised if it's probably shrank a little bit. Shrunk.
Shrink or shrunk.
No clue. But our mascot is we're the Osceola Seminoles. So definitely.
Oh, there you go. Seminole Wind. Yep. That's the song.
Yeah.
So what kind of childhood you had? I guess you're a middle child, which I don't know if they said that, if you're a middle child, you have certain characteristics, and if you're oldest, and so what was it like with your growing up? Was it a happy childhood?
It was mixed. We were lower middle class if we were in the middle class, or we were upper lower class.
I know about that.
My dad seemed to always be working 2 jobs, and my mom, was a homemaker to a certain point, and then she, worked, 40 hours a week too, just like Daddy, and so we were. We were expected to, kind of take care of ourselves, and not that we were abandoned, but I'm saying we got a little older, got to school, they expected us to do our homework and stuff like that without having to get on to us about it. And my sister, my brother, and I, we all did. We took care of business. But it pretty much is happy childhood. My grandparents lived, both sets of grandparents when I was small lived about 20 miles away in a little town called Dice, Arkansas. It's hometown of Johnny Cash. That's where my mom and dad grew up. And but yeah, it's a pretty happy childhood, honestly.
So that's pretty cool. Johnny Cash. So he grew up. That's his hometown, right down the road from where you grew up.
Yeah, I think he was born in Kingsland, Arkansas, which is down south. And then
Right.
1935, I guess there's a big flood down there, and the Jewells the Jewells were my grandfather and their great grandfather came from out of Kentucky. But anyway, the Jewells and the Cashes met up about 1935 in this little town. It was a socialist project. Eleanor Roosevelt came there and dedicated the town, and like all good socialist projects, it failed. And so, uh, anyway, but the Jewells and the Cashes had a lot of interactions. Johnny and my uncle Hubert, my dad's oldest brother, they were really good friends. My dad and Tommy played basketball together in high school, and a couple of the sisters
Cool.
used to come to my mom's house to play piano. So they knew each other pretty well.
Yeah, I love that Tommy Cash. There's one song that he does that's "Let an Old Racehorse Run" that I've seen him
Yeah,
do quite. I love that song. That's one of my favorites.
yeah. Well, I know a little bit about Tommy, more about Johnny, but Six White Horses, was
hmm
my favorite of his. And I'm sure a lot of other folks too.
hmm So you grew up playing. So did you grow up in music, or was that something that happened later in your life?
Well, I started, I like to sing and I loved music, from really early age. Didn't start playing guitar until I was about 14. And really, instrument wise, my mom and dad, didn't play. They both had really pretty singing voices, although neither one of them like sang in the church choir or nothing like that. Um, so I'm the only one that chose to pick up, an instrument and try to make a living at it.
That's pretty neat. Did you start playing in church? I'm assuming you started playing in church.
Yeah, I started singing in church when I was like in kindergarten,
Okay.
and then when we moved to Osceola, and the church we went to had like a children's choir and a youth choir and all that. So from the fourth grade up through high school, and then into college, I sang in choirs. But yeah, and then the first time I played um, publicly was singing in church. So yeah, I did a lot of that.
Cool. Yeah. So
Hmm.
and no high school band though. No, nothing in the young years. Nobody's going to dig up any good
No,
footage
the
from that.
crazy. Yeah, no, the crazy thing is I guess I was in my early 20s before I ever was ever part of a band, and that lasted for about one gig. and and then 1986, I wound up working. I moved down to South Arkansas, to Camden, Arkansas, down Southwest Arkansas. I went to work with a band called White Oak, and spent 3 or 4 years on the road with those guys. And then kind of the band broke up in '89. I kind of split off, started doing my own thing, moved to Dallas, and from Dallas to Nashville later on. So
Cool.
really didn't have a whole lot of experience in bands other than the one band that I was with for 3 or 4 years. We were on the road 300 plus days a year. So
White Oak.
I got a big education in a small amount of time.
I've got a buddy that's from that spent a lot of time in Texarkana, Arkansas, and he always says that he's
Yeah,
from L.A. and and then he says it's Lower Arkansas is what he means by L.A.
yeah. Yeah, he's definitely from Lower Arkansas. Yeah, Camden's not too far away from Texarkana. I think maybe hour and a half, something like that.
So you is there's a little gap in your bio, but I saw a TBN or CBN story about you, and you had a couple hiccups in your kind of mid adulthood before Nashville Star. Do you want to talk about any of that?
I'm fine to talk about anything. I'm open book.
Well, let's get into it. So what were the? Let me see how I'm gonna ask this.
Well, if you're talking about the drug and alcohol problem, yeah, that I'm
Yeah.
assuming that's what you're alluding to. Yeah, man,
Well, yeah, that's what that CBN thing was.
yeah, I wound up God, I drank at one point before we moved to Nashville. I drank just about every day. I was high just about every day, and if I wasn't high, I was trying to figure out a way to get high. And got to Nashville. Uh, in short, the good Lord got a hold of me and got me straightened out, and I'm not that guy anymore. You know.
Well, that's a good quick turnaround. It sounds quick. It probably didn't happen that quick in real life. But
No, it didn't. It took a lot
so
of
how did
patience
the
on a lot of people's part.
right, and I understand that. So with the Nashville Star thing,
Yeah.
I've always been curious how they recruit, or if they recruit you, or if that's something you kind of try out for. How did that work?
Well, I know. Well, of course, that was the first season. They did.
Hmm.
They didn't recruit me. I tried. A friend of mine from church kept coming to church and saying, "Hey, there's this new TV show. It's like American Idol, which American Idol was only a year old at that point in time." And he said it's like American Idol, but it's for country singer songwriters, and you should go audition. They're coming to Nashville. You should audition. And I blew him off a couple of times, and every Sunday I see him and say, "You're going to audition?" And finally, to shut him up, he was a great guy. I said, "Okay, I'll go audition if you'll leave me alone." And so I went down and did the cattle call down at the what's called the Bridgestone Arena now. I think there's about 10,000 people there that day, and waited my turn and got to go in, and it's kind of like a funnel, like a cattle, like funneling cattle into the final chute. You start out where there's all this pipe and drape around you, and you're singing in front of two judges, and on your right hand side somebody's singing Patsy Cline, on your left hand side somebody's doing Elvis, and the only thing between you is a curtain. And get about 30 seconds, and the two judges, they both give you thumbs up. You move on down the line a little bit. And each time you get to move on, they cut people out. So I spent, oh my goodness, I don't know. I really don't remember the amount. It's probably a good 10, 12 hours in line. And
Really?
and then
So it's
finally
like
made it.
at Six
Yeah.
Flags.
Oh, every bit. And there's no fast pass either. Now, I don't know. They
Man,
may have recruited other people, but they didn't recruit me.
well, ain't that something? So I guess my guess would be that's where you feel like your career anyway changed. Is that where that's kind of the big turnaround, the big so far in your career? It ain't over by any means.
Yeah, no, I mean, that was the big stepping stone. I'd been in Nashville for 10 years by then, and I
Hmm.
started about the first right after first year. I'd started getting work as a studio singer, and I made a good living at that. And I did demos for songwriters and publishing companies, and they would play those recordings for the stars and hope that they liked my version up, that they'd want to do their own version of it. And when I quit counting, when I got to 4,000 of those recordings, I'm told that it was somewhere near 5,000, but I don't know how you keep up with that stuff. I just know I quit counting at 4,000.
Really, man. So did they pay you per? I mean, you got a per session kind of.
Got paid per song. Yeah, I got paid X amount of dollars per song. The more I did it, through the years, my pay went up, and I
Yeah.
kind of determined after I first started, I kind of determined, when I felt like I was doing good, I would bump my pay up a little bit, and then I'd bump it up a little more. And when I quit, I was doing like 120 bucks a song, 125, something like that. And I was so
Wow.
busy and in demand that I would do the lead vocal, the melody, and then do a high harmony part, low harmony part, all for one fee.
Hmm.
But it got to where I was so busy that I would actually charge double if I had to sing the harmonies, because I could be somewhere else in another studio making like $125 on doing another lead vocal. So I that's how I made a living. And
Ain't that something?
I played in little restaurants and bars, nothing downtown Nashville. I was told early on when I got here, do not go downtown and play, because the record labels will think you're just a Broadway, honky tonk singer, and they won't pay any
Mm,
attention to you.
that makes sense.
And I don't know if that's true or not. They didn't pay attention to me for 10 years anyway.
Yeah, that's true. So you did 4,000 in 10 years. That sounds like more than one a day. Does that sound right?
Yeah, well, I know in 1996, for instance, I sang 600. I recorded 663 songs that year.
Oh man.
There were some days I would do as many as 10 in a day. Um, that was it. It wasn't the rule. It was the exception. But there were days that I would go to a guy's studio and some songwriter had mailed in, 10 songs they want to record and they wanted me to do them all. So I learned them all and went in the studio with the uh, the engineer, whatever, and recorded them all. Got them all done. But yeah, there were days I did
Wow.
10, as many as 10 songs.
Oh, that's pretty neat. So you did
Hey,
Nashville Star.
when I prior
That
to got to Nashville, I didn't even know that was part of the industry. I had no clue, and I just when I got to town found out about it. So yeah,
well, I think most people would be that way. That where they wouldn't. I mean, that didn't really. It makes sense once you say it because somebody's got to be representing these songs. I mean, and you obviously have a great voice. So I mean, it makes sense
well,
that
I
you can make
appreciate
a
it.
good living doing that.
Yeah, and I mean, there are a lot of other people that have become stars that did it. Garth did it.
Hmm.
Joe Diffie did it. Trisha Yearwood did it. There are tons of other artists that were
Right.
demo singers before they got their record deals.
We talked to Kent Blasey, the guy that wrote "If Tomorrow Never Comes" with Garth, and he was saying that
Hmm.
Garth was his demo singer, and that's kind of how they met, and
Yep,
how and so that's pretty neat.
it
Speaking
is.
of co-writing, I just want to interject here that Leslie Sachi, is that a person you know? The
Leslie
girl you
Satcher. Yeah.
Satcher, that's it. She's from Paris
Hmm.
up here, and which is pretty close to where we live too. And I would like
I
to
knew she.
thank you and her for writing that when I'm good and gone. The first time I heard that
Oh,
song, I heard Darren Vincent singing it. Just with him and the
yeah,
guitar. And I don't know if you've
yeah.
how I know you love music and love songs. When I heard that one, there's maybe been 3 or 4 times in my life that I've been hit so hard by such a simple little song. That
Yeah.
song spoke to me like, it's one of those that I immediately went, learned all the words, and sang it to myself for a month. Like and I
Wow.
sing it in church from time to time, even now. I love that song, and it has meant
Yeah.
so much to me.
That's a
Absolutely
really
love it.
special song. It was we wrote it. It's actually about the last conversation I had with my dad before he passed away, and and he actually died before we ever got to hear the song. But
Wow.
yeah, it's really special to me, and to know that Darren and that Ricky Skaggs and Sharon White cut it and put it
Mm-hmm.
on one of their records, on their Hearts Like Ours record. Um, I don't know which version Darren sings. When I sing it live, I the bridge has a different melody than what Ricky and Sharon put on it because they did it Leslie's version as far as the melody and the bridge, and I changed it. When I recorded it for me. So either way,
The one I heard
I'm
from
proud to get
Darius
the check
goes
when
to
it
a
shows
two
up.
there. Yeah, I bet you are.
Yeah,
It goes to a
I
two,
signed
so
my
it on I ain't leaving here today as far as I can see. The one I heard does.
Yeah, it goes forward to I guess it is a two. Well, because you'll see G would be the four.
Mm-hmm.
D yeah, and it's the F like a F minor, F
F sharp
minor,
minor.
major
Mm-hmm.
minor, whatever. It kind of walks down, but yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean the I, I'm trying to think if she did the same chord structure or not. I'd have to go back and listen to their version to be able to tell you. I just know the melody go. I ain't leaving here today, as far as I can see. Got a
Mm-hmm.
list of things I plan on getting to, something like that. And I sounded really good out of key there, by the way. Uh,
We'll auto correct that. We'll put auto tune on
well, sure, they do it for everybody else.
there. No, but I would like to say a real heartfelt thank you for that song. That's really meant a lot to my heart.
It really, and it does, as I've been amazed. It's kind of like "Help Pour Out the Rain" is,
Mm-hmm.
that song that has really spoken. Both those songs have really spoken to
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people. When I'm Good and Gone, obviously hadn't been played enough, or got a been released as a single at the right time, right place for it to be a hit song. But I think it is.
Right.
It's just a matter of the right artist getting hold of it, and people playing it. But I'm
I think
thank you.
so
I'm
too.
very flattered you like.
Well, where you talked about "Help Pour Out the Rain," Lacey's song in parentheses. So that's an iconic song, and I guess it did get released by the right artist at the right time because it's done really well. How did that song come to be?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know he's real happy with it. The artist is very happy with it. Yes, that was strange, man. I, uh, I I sang it on Nashville Star one night. My whole goal with that thing was, I thought Miranda or Jamie Garner, he looked like one of those underwear models out of the Sears catalog, Tarzan or whatever. He's a good friend of mine. I mess with him, but I thought somebody like that was going to win. I was the oldest person on the show. I'd been in town for 10 years, and my whole goal was just to get on there and hope I got enough exposure where I could sell some T-shirts and CDs, and last long enough to play one of my original songs. And then the night that I sang it on the show, we were sequestered. It was like Big Brother. We couldn't go home. We were in this big house on Music
Hmm.
Row, all 12 of us. And now my wife called me after the show, and she said, "This is crazy. You're not going to believe this. We're getting literally tens and thousands of emails and messages from people that are saying how much the song impacted them." And I hung up the phone thinking, "Oh my gosh, I wrote a hit song and didn't even know it." And so
Yeah.
from that point on, I knew if I was blessed enough to win the show, that was going to be the first single, and luckily, the good Lord let that happen.
Yeah. That's a good one. It's sweet,
Thank you.
and I will say it's not only sweet, but you kind of have, I'm not hitting on you here, but you really have a sweet
Okay.
spirit, and it comes across in your singing voice and the whole thing. There's definitely a sweetness,
Well, I
and not
appreciate it. I've
like
been
it,
faking that for a
not
long
like
time.
that.
No, I didn't take that way. I didn't take it that way.
Well,
Not at all.
speaking of sweet, you've had the 20-year anniversary of Sweet Southern Comfort. Is that coming up or is that past?
Actually, it was last May. Well, it was last year. The song was released on October 17th of 2003. So, yeah, that was it. So it would have been 20 years anniversary on October
Okay,
17th, and then um, yeah. So to celebrate that,
that's
we just had to do a re-record of it, and I was blessed to get Clint Black and Marty Rabin and the Bellamy brothers to sing on it with me. It was really, really cool.
cool. That's hard to believe that it's been 20 years. That song still. I mean, I still remember the first time I heard it and everything. It's a great iconic song, but 20 years goes by so fast.
It really has, man. It really has, and
It's
I tell people all the time I didn't write it, but I was smart enough to know I should record it when I heard it. So
Yeah, I mean that takes something. I mean, I think about George Strait a lot, and when it comes to that, and he's got a good ear for a good song. Of course, he pinned
yeah, he
down
does.
Dean Dillon too, and so I mean that helps some.
Yeah, it never hurts to have Dean Dillon writing stuff for you.
Never hurts. How did you manage to get Clint Black and the Bellamy brothers and Marty Rabin to collaborate on that with you?
Well, Clint was my first call because on the show he was our mentor that first season, and the deal
Oh,
was with Clint was whoever won, he was going to produce the winner's album, and so he and I got to be friends through that process, and we've stayed in touch over the years, and so when we decided to do this, he was my first call, and I'm like, hey, you're a big reason it was a hit the first time around, and I would love to have you involved. Um, you know, Playing harmonica, singing, whatever I can get you to do on it. And he's
Cool.
immediately said, "Yeah, just whatever you need me to do, man, I'm in." And then Marty and I've known Marty for, ran into him here and there at a lot of different things, done some things with him. And my bass player and producer, Mitchell Brown, was really good friends with Donnie Allen that plays banjo for Shenandoah. He's been playing with him for years. And so he got in touch with Donnie and said, Do you think that maybe that Marty be interested?" And so we got in touch with Marty, and he was like, "Yeah, I'd love to do it." And the Bellamy's was just kind of I won't call it a fluke, but I just opened for them, and I think September, October of 22, and we decided to do this in December when we started working on the plans to do the re-record. And so I just thought, well, heck, I'd love to have those guys on it. Maybe they'll say yes. And all I, the kind of the old saying, all I can do is say no. You just got to, you're going to get a yes or no either way. And I'll be danged if
Yeah,
they didn't say, yeah, man, I'd love to be part of it. So that was, another really cool thing that happened.
that is cool. I love the Bellamy brothers. Man,
Yeah.
legends.
Yeah.
And, Clint Black and
Absolutely.
Marty Rabin are obviously legends.
Yeah. They're no second class citizen. That's for sure.
They're not. We saw Marty Rabin play in his bluegrass set. We went to Turkey Track up in Waldron, Arkansas, a few years back,
Yeah.
and he was there playing his bluegrass set, and met him there. It was pretty cool. He's a really
Yeah.
good
He's
dude.
a great guy. He
Hmm.
really is. Absolutely.
So, how did what would you? Was it a more fun process recording that the second time, or do you even remember the first time? The first time was like in a whirlwind.
The first one, um, I think we probably have a Guinness Book of World Records, seriously, for start to finish on an album. We were done in 2 weeks. We got the songs picked. I was doing all this different media stuff back and forth, and in between they were finding the songs, and I was picking songs, and because of all my experience in the studio, we were able to get it down really fast. We did a double session tracking, and got all the songs in a I guess did we do 2 days? I think we did 2 days worth of recording, double sessions. And then when I went to do vocals, Clint had to make me quit and go home, or I would have done all 11 songs. I'd have done them all in one day,
Right.
but he wouldn't let me keep recording. Um, so he made me go home, take the night off, and come back the next day, and we finished them. So that was a
That's
whirlwind.
cool.
The thing with
Yeah.
the second time around, it was like herding squirrels trying to get those boys together. The recording wasn't so bad, because everybody had their own studio they could use and things like that. So we just had to, just ship the tracks, just drop box the
Hmm.
tracks to them or whatever. But then getting them together to film the video, there was no way I could get all four of us together at the same time to do the video. It's like, we're getting ready to do that in the song came out in early March, and we did the video, got that out I think in May or June, and by then everybody's touring and there's in full swing. So I would just catch them as I could with a videographer and get their pieces on it, and then
Hmm.
dust put it all together. But yeah, that was the hard part, was getting the video done.
You didn't have to do any CGI kind of stuff.
No, you know what, man? And nothing is technology. But I wanted it to be genuine, and if I couldn't get us all together
Yeah.
in the studio, then I didn't want to make it come across like we had. So
Yeah, I
I don't know.
understand.
That's just I'm old fashioned, traditional in that sense.
Yeah, but you could have had the Bellamy brothers from 1982, because I saw Arnold Schwarzenegger in one of those Terminators, and he looked like he was 22 years old again.
Well, I didn't think of that, man. I should have thought about it. I'm sure Howard and David would have been flattered.
Yeah. If you could collaborate with any other artist, past or present, who would it be and why?
Wow. Well, that's a great, great question. Um, As far as females go, I love. I've always loved Leanne Womack's voice, and so she would definitely be one of the female artists that I would love to do a duet with her. I just her voice is so sweet. You know, I Miss Dolly obviously would be a great one, but she's duetted with everybody. It seems like so. Yeah, there, and then wow, the male thing is I can't pick one. I mean, there's so many of them.
Yeah,
Yeah, that are just heroes. I love
definitely.
all these guys have these great baritone voice. I'd love to have done something with Glenn Campbell or with Marty Robbins. Um,
Hmm.
even as far back as Johnny Horton. Of course, Johnny Cash, being another. So I can't really pick a guy. They would all be traditional artists, and no offense to the current lineup of stars, but it would not be any of them.
Yeah, that Leanne Womack, that's a good one. Yeah, I think about that Never Again, again, and I mean, that's back
Yeah,
when they were making country music right there.
yeah. Well, the I'm gonna hate myself in the morning. I thought was phenomenal, and
Yeah,
she
yeah.
actually one of the songs that I demoed, she recorded, made number one out of it. A little past Little Rock. I sang the demo on that, and she just
Did
sings
you
the
really?
fire out of that. Yeah,
Yes, she
write
does.
this down for George Strait was another one. Another big song that I would sing the demo on. In fact, write this down. I think was song of the year or whatever.
That's cool. Did you get a plaque or
Yeah,
anything when that happened?
I didn't even get a thank you. I,
You
I got the
got
paycheck.
$125.
Yeah, well, by the time I was doing those, it's probably more like $80 a song. I hadn't bumped up to 125 yet.
Well, you've done pretty good for yourself since you've been nominated for Grammys, ACM awards, and CMA awards, and all kind of stuff. Does any of that have any particularly special meaning to you?
Well, I mean, it always does. Just like everybody says, man, just being mentioned is an enormous honor when you think about how many people are out there, just wishing they could be nominated. Um, but yeah, that first year I was up for the Horizon Award for the CMAs and the Best
Mm,
New uh, Artist or Male Artist or something like that for the ACMs, and the Grammy nomination. I was part of a project, a gospel project that was nominated for a Grammy. So always cool to have those things. I don't have any plaques on the wall from any of that, but not yet. It's all up to good Lord. If
So,
he wants to do it, he'll figure out a way to get it done.
my notes say you won an ICMA Song of the Year for the "I'm There" song in the Christian country genre.
Yeah, that song was written by oh my goodness, Nick. Oh goodness, I got to think of his name now. I have to look him up. No, Nick Sturms. He produced an EP on me, and then an Americana album on me, or CD, what are you going to call it? But yeah, Nick wrote that song. He's 19 years old, and it's a
Oh wow!
phenomenal song. It's have that kind of depth, and he's an old soul, incredible writer. Um, but yeah, that won Song of the Year, and then I co-wrote a song called "When Mama Prayed." I think that if I'm not mistaken, that I know it was a gospel number one. Um, I know, and it was up for Song of the Year for the ICMAs too on an artist that I produced, and so been very blessed.
Wow, you have been blessed. Tell me something about
Yes, sir.
your process when it comes to songwriting. Do you generally co-write, or is it something that, or even in a co-write, is it, do you bring to the table a half a song or a song idea? How does it start for you?
God wired me kind of funny. Used to when I first started writing, I would kind of develop a melody. And then based on what the melody sounded like, if it felt happy, then I tried to write something happy. And if it felt sad or melancholy, then I kind of went that direction. and I still rely on melody a lot. You can sit around and pick a guitar and listen to overtones and things like that, and uh, it that kind of gets me going towards a melody and a chord progression, and then just somehow God pops an idea out. I still don't know how that works, you know, but yeah, I mean, it's weird. I do pretty good with song hooks. Somebody say something funny or kind of have a Freudian slip and say something in a weird way, or maybe I see something on a bumper sticker or a billboard. Um, but yeah, God's really blessed me in that area, and I seem to be fairly good at coming up with opening lines for songs. And after that, it's good if you got a co-writer around, because by that time I'm
Yeah.
worn out.
It's a lot of work. I, I write some too, and it's you're right, the hook or whatever. A lot of times it just kind of happens to you, almost like it occurs to you, and you're like, oh, that's cool. And so maybe writing the chorus or the first verse or the first few lines is fun and exciting, but then somebody's got to work and put all that together and make it work. And so you're right. That would be. I need to start co-writing.
Yeah, well, the second verse is always hardest to do. And of course, you being a songwriter, I'm sure you know this, but you got to be able to either write something that's equally as good or better for the second verse than the first verse was. And man, if you got a really strong first
Hmm.
verse, sometimes it's makes that really really hard. And that's where co-writers come in handy. I write in fact, the last thing I actually wrote, I wrote by myself. We were in Ireland for 10 days last year doing a tour, and my wife's sisters were with us, and we were in Dublin the very last day we were there, and it was raining, and it hadn't rained the whole time we were there. And one of the sisters said, "Well, here it is, our last day in Dublin. It might as well rain," because we figured it's going to rain on us the whole time, and it didn't. But that struck me, last day in Dublin. I thought, nah, that sounds like a good idea for a song. So I was able to craft something around that. I think it was a pretty good song, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty neat how that happens, and you being a melody first person, I guess that probably helps because when somebody injects a funny little turn of phrase, it's pretty easy for you to just lay that in a melody.
Well, I wish it was easy. I tell you the one thing. I tell you what I can't do, man. I've never been able to do. Somebody will send me a poem and say, "Hey, can you put music to this?" And I can't. I've never been able to do it. I have to be there at the beginning, or at least a piece of the song has to have melody and lyric going before my brain ever kicks in. But I've never been able to take a poem and put music to it.
That's really hard.
And
I've
I've
tried a
tried
few
a lot.
times. Yeah, it's not an
Yeah.
easy thing. So, from a songwriter's perspective, how have you seen the country music industry change since you started? And is it exciting or challenging? Or tell us something about the nature of it.
Well, the whole digital thing obviously has had an enormous effect on everything for songwriters. The whole early on, when I came along in 2003, we were just at the edge of digital music. Up until then, it was still CDs and people. You might burn a CD and pirate a CD, but they weren't stealing it off line like they started to in 2003. That's hurt songwriters a lot. I know at
Hmm.
one point in time, the statistic was that 95% of the music that people downloaded from the internet was illegally gained. So, which means the
Wow.
publishers, songwriters, everybody from the girl at the front desk to the guys or gals that own the publishing company, they're affected by that. Songwriters, that hurt us a lot and still continues to. Um, I know I've seen here lately, and I haven't. I Because they're not writing the kind of stuff that I like to write. I guess is the best way to put it. I don't stay nearly as involved in the songwriting community as I used to. Um, but I see songs where there's like 6 and 8 people writing on it, and like some guys getting credit because he developed the drum loop. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but man, that's splitting the money up. I'm used to writing with one, maybe two other people, and
Mhm.
that's just the way it's always been. I never really co-wrote until I got to Nashville. Anyway, I just wrote by myself, and I really wasn't aware of a whole bunch of things co-writing, so it was kind of new to me when I got here, and I like it. I enjoy it when I'm writing with a couple of writers that know
Really?
what they're doing, and that I
Mm.
respect. Yeah, that's a lot of fun, but it's still tedious. Um, but yeah, it's changed a lot. The whole digital thing. They're not paying uh, songwriter salaries like they used to. Advances and things like
Right.
that. Well, I say they're not. I don't know. I haven't tried to get a publishing deal in forever because I'm content just keeping it all to myself. But from what I understand, they dropped a couple zeros off off of those advance checks.
Oh, really? So, what are you excited about moving forward in the music industry? Surely there's good things going on.
Oh yeah, I'm slowly but surely putting a new project together. I don't even know if I know right now I still spend a lot of time touring in Europe and overseas, and there people really want a physical product. And so I'm sure I'll make this next project into a CD. Um, and I've got got energized, writing some new music, and I was kind of in the doldrums there for a few years, just hadn't found anything to say or anything I cared that much to say about, and that's kind of been reawakened in me, and so I'm really enjoying it. I just look forward to whatever God puts in my heart to write, or the co-writers I'm working with, and I do that when I can. Kind of sporadic.
Hmm.
I don't write with a whole lot of other people because I don't live in Nashville anymore. I live outside of Nashville, and so it's just I'm old, man. I hate to get out. I travel all the time for a living, and if they'll come to me and write, I'm
Hmm.
good. But if they want me to come to them, sometimes I'm to be honest with you, I really
Hmm.
don't. Let's just do this Skype.
Songwriting is funny how you when songs are coming to you and you're into it and you just wrote one last week and you're excited about it and you've got one kind of cooking on the side. It's such a sweet and awesome thing, and it really is. It feels like who you are. But then I went through a 10-year little stretch where I didn't finish a single song, and you kind of start to get lost without it, or I did. I kind of started losing losing perspective on who I was, and but I really didn't have anything to say for that time, and I'm so thankful that, and it really did happen that God brought it back to me and
Yep.
gave me something to say again, just all of a sudden, and I've been writing ever since again.
Yeah, it's a similar situation with me, man. I just at one point in time I thought, wow, am I just done writing? I mean, can I not write anymore? Because there was nothing coming. Luckily,
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure you're like me. I keep the phone around, and I hit the record button on the voice recorder and record things, or and write stuff. Keep a journal of song ideas and hooks and stuff like that. So that kind of keeps me going. But yeah, there was
Mm-hmm.
a point in time where I went through several years where I didn't write anything, and just didn't. I was kind of concerned that I didn't write anything, but I like you. I just I didn't have anything to write about.
Yeah. It's a strange thing, but it's definitely a great thing when it comes back. It's because it's brand new and it's all brand new again.
Yep, yep, yep.
So what are so these are some little bonus questions here on the end.
Okay.
And we're really going to dive deep here. So give me the top 5 things in your gig bag.
Ooh. Um. Well, you gotta have picks. Picks, capo
That's a good
tuner,
one.
Vicks cough drops. Vicks mentholyptus cough drops are a big
Mm.
thing that I make sure I keep in the bag. Uh, batteries. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's not.
Man,
There might be some bourbon in there from time to time. You know, a
you
little glass of
dominated
bourbon
that. Hey, let me ask you,
for
have you
medicinal
ever tried
purposes.
Fisherman's Friend cough drops?
I've had some people recommend those to me. I have not.
Well,
How
I'll
are
tell you,
those?
you need to be serious before you put one in your mouth because they're a serious grown man type cough drop.
Well, I'll have to try it and see if I have to stick with the children's cough drops instead of stepping up the
It ain't candy.
big Yeah, that Fisherman's Friend. I'm gonna have to give the second person, I think, or third just recommended that, so I guess
Yeah,
I need to
do
try them
that.
out.
All my bluegrass buddies that sit around outside in March and April picking the banjo and singing outside, they say Fisherman's Friend is the only one.
I'll be darned. So, are you aware of a product? I'm assuming they still make it called Entertainer's Secret.
I don't think I am.
So I discovered that in Nashville in the studio, and it's like this glycerin spray that you literally squirt down your throat and into your nostrils, and it burns in your nose. Takes me back to my druggy days, but it man, that it coats your vocal cords and stuff with glycerin, and it's phenomenal.
Really? Does it make a sound difference? Does it make your voice sound better? Does it help you with talent? I need talent help.
Well, they haven't come up with one of those yet, but if they do, whoever comes up with it's going to be a millionaire.
Yeah, well, I will say I heard that awesome new song by Randy Travis the other day, and they have come up with something. That's something.
Yeah, that's pretty wild. That's the only application that I think I could be happy about AI with. Otherwise, that stuff, I don't know. Call me
I'm
old
with you.
fashioned. It kind of scares me,
It's scary.
because they literally can do that to anybody else's voice if they want to, and
Definitely.
so it's only a matter of time before somebody that's already stealing stuff starts stealing that too. You know.
Yeah. I will say I'm with you that if they're going to pick one to do it with, I definitely approve of what they did, and it sounds phenomenal.
I could see like like Ronnie Robbins, Marty's son, or Hank Jr. doing it with his dad, something like that.
Hmm.
Where it's and the great thing about Randy is he's still around and still aware of what's going on,
Hmm.
and I think that's cool that they can do that with his voice. He Because
Yeah.
by the way, he released a song that I wrote with a buddy of mine, Tom McHugh. It was the first thing he released. It's been almost 7 years since his stroke, and he'd cut this song of ours twice for two different records, and it never made the final cut. And they released that when he did his biography. The book was called Forever and Ever Amen, and they released mine and Tom McHugh's song One in a Row on Randy.
One in a
Little
row.
tidbit there for you.
That's pretty cool.
One in a row.
And
Yeah,
that's a good
man.
song title too. So tell me something about what hidden talent.
I tell you the crazy thing.
You're okay. I want to hear what you said.
No, I'm just saying. I thought the One in a Row was such a unique title. I thought, man, surely no one's written this title before. And I looked it up, and it had been done 16 other times, so including Willie Nelson.
Really? That's a good
Yeah,
story.
yeah. So you're asking about a hidden talent. The first thing that came to my mind is really stupid, but I can tie a cherry stem into a knot in my mouth. That's from being in bars for a long time.
Sitting at the bar.
Yeah. I, I don't know, man. The only talent I got is what everybody sees. I mean, God said, "I'm gonna give you this, but we can't hide this. It's the only one you're getting." So,
You're gonna need something.
no, man, I'm pretty sure. Hey, I know. I don't collect anything. I got grandbabies, 4 grandbabies now. So if I did collect something, they would get it or break it. you know, um, I don't know. It's a hidden talent. I gotta write this down for the next interview because in case I get asked that again. Uh,
Mm. All right, man. Well, that's about all we've got. Buddy Jewell, thanks so much for being on the Come and Pick It podcast.
hey, Anthony, thank you. I really appreciate you taking so much time with me, brother.
Yes, sir. Hey, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to today's episode of the Come and Pick It podcast. If you enjoyed the show, make sure to hit that subscribe button and leave us a review. Your feedback helps us reach more listeners like you. We got a brand new episode of Come and Pick It next week and more amazing guests lined up for you down the road. I hope you don't miss it. Until then, keep on picking it.